Alakim. Ruak Bakar. Blessed morning. I hope everybody's well. I'm driving home from my night job right now. This is going to be called, and everything that you do it as if you're doing for Yah. I love saying that, and I don't really think that people realize what that means. First off, there's an argument that's going on right now in which people are speaking about the differences between the Old Testament and the New Testament. What I have to say about that is do you realize that you're using a Eurocentric understanding of the book in general to describe it to anyone when you're actually saying that? It's a testimony of the kingdom of Mamlaka Yisrael, or saying that's double. It's a testimony of Mamlaka Yisrael. Mamlaka means kingdom. So if you never heard that before, or Mamlakai, or whatever, however anybody pronounces it, it's not here or there. But the thing is that it's the testimony of who they are, why they exist, and what they're here for. So you can't use anybody else's definitions to define it, because it's all testimony of the people. The problem arises when you use the term new, because when people think about new, they never had it before. It's like they had a vehicle before and now they got a different vehicle that no one has ever driven before, and things of that nature. And the fact of the matter is that that analogy can't be used when talking about Scripture. When talking about Scripture, it must be understood that this is repaired, or a refresh, or a rehash. And the reason why it's a refresh or a rehash is because everything that he wanted to be done already, he already said in Torah. You know? And somehow, some way, when we talk about it, we talk about it as if what he said was not in Torah. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is to get in that understanding of what it says in Exodus chapter 19, Exodus chapter 20, Deuteronomy chapter 18, Jeremiah chapter 7, Jeremiah chapter 23, Jeremiah chapter 31, Ezekiel chapter 36, Hebrews chapter, I want to say 7. These are quintessential to your understanding of what the scriptures say. Romans chapter 3. What you got to understand is that the way that Europeans divided the text up is not entirely accurate. Alright? First and foremost, Deuteronomy is the literal utterance of Moses, so they say. Some people say that it was a rewritten or rehash of what was already in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, so they believe that it's a duplicate, and that is false. But the thesis of Deuteronomy is on the basis of the thought process that Moses said this. Genesis, nobody had the record of Genesis. Moses got that from Yah. That was part of his oration to the people so that they can know who and what happened and why he was doing this in the first place. Exodus is an explanation of what happened. People believe that Joshua wrote down Exodus and that the missing pieces were given to him by Moses. Keep in mind also, first and foremost, these are English or European names given to people of Israeli origin. The other thing to consider is that Joshua or Yeshua or Yahushua ban Nun, son of Nun, also gained all his direction and understanding of this text from Yah himself. And evidence of that is to remember that he was always inside of the tent when Moses left, and the Spirit never left him when he was there. Yahshua is the closest thing that we have to khudash in human form. Enoch is the closest thing that we have to khudash in human form. Daniel and Job are the closest things that we have to khudash in human form. The thing that one must consider about all this stuff and why I'm using the word khudash is because khudash is the word that they're using to say is new, is new. It's not new, it's made new. It's repaired. It's fixed. That reminds me of what Paul was saying. He said, if there was nothing wrong with the old, there would be no reason for the new. Now, the Spirit is showing me stuff as I'm driving and as I'm talking to you. Paul is not saying what you think he's saying there. I'm changing the name of the video because the Spirit went a different way. Paul is saying if there was nothing wrong with the way, Yah would not have needed to do anything to fix it, to repair it. It needed to be repaired. I hope that since I've been talking right now, that you read Exodus chapter 19, Exodus chapter 20, and Exodus chapter 18, because you would have found something phenomenal before I went any further and said anything else that I said in this video. What you would see is that Yah's goal was to give everybody the essence of purity, the essence of repair. Since the time of Adam, the first being, the first soul, separate from Yah. Once Yah put that breath inside him, Yah made Adam become manifested. He created him from a part of himself, right? Adam could not hack being on his own, so Yah gave a solution to Adam having what he has in the physical and as well as the spiritual. Unfortunately, that's the second time he split something on an impure level, meaning that the flesh is weak. Dirt. It's dirt that we came from. You see what I'm saying? Your skin flakes off, it becomes dirt. You filter the air in your house and you look and you see the dirt. If you take a microscope and you analyze that dirt, most of that dirt is the skin on the human body. See what I'm saying? Scientifically, dirt is organic. This planet came from 4 things, all organic things that Yah manifested for us to be able to do and live the way we're living now. So Yah's solution, to the impurity that was happening, his solution to gathering his people, all of his creation, not just Yisrael, was to give them back, or to give them something that can keep them clean, that can keep them connected to him at all given times, for the sake of making sure that they won't blaspheme, that they won't walk unholy. The wages of sin is death. To sin is to disconnect. If you're sincere, you'll fight the good fight. So what he does is he takes you out this earth to make sure that other people understand that you can't do that. You can't live like that. You can't operate like that, man. Unfortunately, the people were too scared, because now you're dealing with a different thing. You're dealing with the war between nafash, which is your flesh, and that's how you know the ruak khudash is in this, because I forgot that word, and the ruak, which literally means your spirit, your fire, your essence, that which makes you tick, that which makes you a living, breathing creature. That nafash was about to be overpowered. They couldn't fathom the power. They feared the power. So rather than become what they were always meant to become, they turned it down. A lot of people talk about the ruak khudash, but I don't really think they understand that feeling that comes from that fire that comes inside you from the ruak khudash. It's a burning cold. It's a combination of all forces in one entity, and it goes in and it goes around. You are. That's what it is. You are. So Yah had to work around that in hopes that we would better understand what he needed us to understand. And that was the Nabi, the prophets. The prophets were designed to have the ruak khudash, to be able to manifest the things that Yah needed them to manifest. To us, they are Yah himself. To us, they have all the power and the focus and the mentality and the direction that comes from being that which comes from the essence of all creation. Prophets have brought back the dead. Prophets have parted waters. Prophets have... That's not a good idea to use. Yeah. Prophets have healed the sick. You know? Prophets have told us about what will happen in the days to come. Things that would not have happened, needed to happen, if it was for the fact that we would have accepted the ruak khudash in the first place. For too long, we operate and we do things in our weak state, our weak form. And don't get me wrong, man, because some people be acting crazy. They be thinking this is Magic the Gathering or some junk like that, which is not what I'm trying to push. More so, I'm trying to push animatronics. The thesis for me of animatronics is something that we design to manipulate, to do things, but how we want the actions and the functions to occur. Robotics, computers, puppetry, driving vehicles, using utensils. They're instruments and vessels for our purposes. So, Yah is doing all the work. Yah is operating through it all. We're just vessels being used. And that keeps us clean. That keeps us without blemish, spot, or wrinkle. Do you know the level of things that you got to do, as an example, to raise an animal? First off, you need good, healthy soil just for the sake of the animals. Next, you need to have compost for the plants that you're going to use to feed the animals. Then you get the plants. Now, Yah made it so that we knew that you have to be careful where you put your plants, because they'll breed, they'll become hybrid, and they won't do what they're supposed to do. So we know now that thyme, herbs like oregano, herbs like lemongrass, like basil, like mint, like rue, like rosemary, we know that the land was covered with that stuff. It kept insects out. It cut down the hot sun from the earth. And it created natural antibiotics and nutrition, not just for the animals, but for us. But now, the thing is, the difference between the animals is that stuff that they was eating, that they were eating, was coming through the pores of their skin. So now, that's creating a layer like off-skin-tastic, as an example. Or like the collars on a dog's neck. And that's decreasing the chances of blemish, spots, or blemishes on the body that can cause spots, okay? Their nutrition, their fatty acids, plump them up. They're healthy. They're not being starved, so you don't see the wrinkles and stuff on their skin. They're pure as they can be in that form. As a result, the choice heart, the choice animals, the firstlings, are the purest out of all these animals. And that's what they're used to sacrifice. That's what they're used to tithe. You eat tithe. Now, in saying that, he's saying to sacrifice them for my purposes. So you're a living sacrifice. That's what Paul said. Shaul Anav said, you are a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing unto Yah. This is your reasonable duty, and this is your purpose. This is your focus, to be khudash, to be pure. And the best way to do that is the ruak, khudash, the spirit of purity. You can't eat pork and tell people that you got the ruak khudash. You can't be lying and say you got the ruak khudash. You got to be careful who you hang out with and you can deal with, because you don't want to become unclean unto death, because that's what you're doing. You're actually disconnecting yourself. Think about this. In order to fire missiles, they need to mark the target. And without properly marking the target, all things will be obliterated. All things will be destroyed. So, if you say that you are of Yahuwah and you don't got that ruak khudash on you, when the target is marked and set to be destroyed, you yourself will be destroyed in that flame, in that fire, because you did not fight to walk out your salvation with fear and trouble. You are not the sacrifice you're meant to be, so I broke your neck. You're of no use. You're warned. I was taking care of the people that I take care of, man. I told this little girl the other day, because she was asking me about homosexuality. Like, it's easy to say I hate what Yah hates. I keep it simple. I told her there's only two people I hate. And I said people that hurt children and people that hurt the elderly. That's two groups of people that can't take care of themselves. That's two groups of people in Torah that Yah told us that we was responsible for, man. Throughout our history, that was part of our sin, was that we were not willing to carry out responsibilities. This ain't no religion. This is a culture. This is a household. You're invited to join a house. You part of my squad now. That's what this is about. So, with this being said, the truth is that we wasn't willing to take care of our blood. We wasn't willing to take care of our family. And that, to me, is the most despicable thing about us as human beings. We yap at the lips a lot. We talk a lot of trash. But we really don't have any love in our hearts for our people. So, you gotta understand that when Europeans was talking about our ways and teaching our ways, they preserved it as best they could, but it wasn't talking about them. So they couldn't explain it as if they was talking about them, because then they'd be seen as fraudulent. So the words that they used was based on their understanding for people to be able to accept what they were saying from them. Now we know it was talking about us. No one else went through 400 years of exile. No one else has been constantly punished by Yah the way the scriptures say, with the diseases, with the separation between the brethren, with the rapes and the murders and the atrocities against their brothers. Nobody else matches that. Nobody. And every single time they try to mimic it, because that's what Hashatan does. That's what the adversary does. Tries to mimic everything. It ends up not even lining up. So the thing is that the ruak khudash is for everybody, but there's rules and regulations on how things are done, and it's laid out for us in Torah. And that's why we've not had any other prophets. That's why, even though people are in the land, they're allowing homosexuality to go on, they're allowing idolatry to go on, because you're not allowed to keep a way separate from the way that was shown from us since the beginning. When you look at John chapter 1 and it's talking about in the beginning, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about Exodus chapter 18 and 19. Typically, unless it says from creation, whenever it mentions beginning in the commentaries or into the Nabi, which are the prophets, or the poetries, it's not talking about Genesis chapter 1. It's talking about Deuteronomy chapter 1. It's talking about Exodus chapter 12. It's talking about Numbers and things of that nature. Leviticus. It is not talking about Genesis chapter 1. Genesis was designed for us to know our history. Whenever it's talking about that, it says foundation. It says creation. It says manifestation, or when I decided to. Things of that nature. But now you have these people who had this ruak, and their brothers still killed them because they didn't have the ruak. The brothers still defied Yah because they did not have the ruak. Yeshayahu, Isaiah, was told that Yah will not reveal things to them because of the wickedness of their hearts. The reason why Yah doesn't reveal things to you is because your wickedness lies in the fact that your family has been carnal. That's your generational curse, is carnality. It says, strive against those who strive against me. And if you're striving against David or David, you're striving against Yah's spirit. When Elisha said to his armor bearer, was my spirit not with you? That was the ruak khudash. The spirit of purity, the spirit of essence, the essence of total creation. So when Yeshua says, you will have my spirit, I will place my spirit inside you, who do you think was talking? Not him. It really messes me up to talk to people about this stuff on a regular basis and they not understand. I know that when I got into this, that was one of the first basic things that Yah showed me, was that the ruak khudash is what controls all this. The ruak khudash is the spirit of purity. I had to fight other things, you know. I had to fight the teachings of the law doesn't matter and stuff like that under it, and I'm still trying to understand what is appropriate times to do feast days. Not like my brothers in Florida and stuff like that. My brothers in Florida, they believe that what is done, and they moving in it, and they doing it. My non-Messianic brothers in New York, they believe and they're doing it. You know? But it's based on what you understand and what you know. So they're getting it done. But nobody at this time who claims that they are of this should be operating without ruak khudash. You will have the foundational understanding, and you will know where to go in the text for whatever you need to go to get an understanding of how to explain this and our responsibilities to arats, because we are responsible for arats. Nobody else is called to control this thing but us, and the only way it can be controlled is through the ruak khudash, as we are animatronic. We are robots. When Yah designed Yeshua, he was designed to bring us back to the position of being the Elohim on this earth. Yah being Allah, being a Haya Ashar Haya. No one is higher than Yah. And you could be like Yah, as the scriptures say, be as perfect as Yahuwah is perfect. There is a way of accomplishing that. And that way of accomplishing that is the ruak khudash, the spirit of purity, the essence of all creation. For Yah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. For Yah did not send his Son into the world to destroy the world, but to save the world. And the message is this: the light came into the world, and people love darkness rather than the light. Those who choose the darkness over the light will have their reward already. Those who truly serve Yah will come into the light to show that what they do is what Yah wants. That's why we commune. That's why we enter congregation. Because we're showing by what we're saying and what we're doing that this is evidence of who I am. That's why we take care of people the way we take care of people. Because we're showing everyone who we are by what we do. This is a hard time to live in, and it's only going to get worse. As much as I want kids, I get scared a lot for having any thought process of having family or anything, knowing what's about to happen is going to be serious. What's happening is serious already. They're deciding how you think. They're deciding what you do. They're deciding how long you have to worship and how long you have to operate, all for the sake of money. And only those who sincerely seek to observe the true Torah and not just the written Torah shall be able to function in these days. And will learn not to argue about frivolous stuff. Because if you actually knew what you knew, you would actually be doing it. If you actually knew what you knew, you would be doing it. Understanding is not based off of this. It's based off of this. That's why the Nefash one, the Messiah, Nefash, that creature, that beast, is going to mark your hands and mark your mind. Because this is on the basis of action. What you think, so shall you do. If you really believe what you say, you will do. James said, you show me your faith, I'll show you my works. For that reason. If you truly have the ruak